Yeah, again, I think it goes back, and I love when fighters have some sort of leverage over the man, the UFC. Not that because I'm anti Dana or anti the establishment. I just love when these fighters, through blood, sweat, and tears, have some sort of advantage. And I think nobody has more of an advantage than Francis because, again, I'm going all over the place, and I'm sure we'll get to it. But it's the same thing with like Jake Paul. It's like Jake Paul, Connor, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. The oven is on, dude. This thing is preheating. Those fights are going to happen with or without Dana in the UFC. So if I'm the UFC, I want some of that pie that's about to get fucking baked, man. Now, if you don't do it and you don't play the game, you're going to miss out on it. But if you're just cool and you somehow come to agreement with these huge names, the biggest names in your promotion, you're going to get a share of this. So it's either you get some of the pie, you're not going to get all of it like you're used to, but you're going to get some of it and you'll be associated with it, which is great for the brand, or you get nothing. Either way, that oven is preheating. That oven is on for Francis, Tyson Fury. The oven's on for Jake Paul and Conor McGregor. That oven's on for Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Those are happening whether it's now or in 2-3 years. So if I'm the UFC, I think for the first time, because of Jake Paul and because of Francis, they've taken these risks and it's paid off, that they have this leverage. And if I'm the UFC, I'm sitting there in the morning Monday meeting going, guys, I know we don't typically do this, but that pie is going to get baked, man. Let's get in on this pie. I know usually we take 50%. These guys ain't going for 50%, but let's be involved in some capacity, whatever that means.
Yeah, so maybe there's a better way to come to it because, with McGregor, they took 50 or close to it. Maybe there's a way where they don't take quite 50, but they take a portion, 25, 30%, something like that.
Yep.
And then offer all of their resources behind promotion to blow it up as big as possible. And then, of course, he would get pay-per-view points and then get more money potentially in the back end.
Everybody wins.
Yes, that seems more feasible to me. But the other part you have to really consider here is Francis is 35, I think almost 36, coming off a knee surgery and a potential layoff. If you're the UFC, you also have to figure out what kind of contract you might want to offer him because 35 is not old for heavyweight. But
no,
here's something to think about. What if you give this guy all the money in the world? You only take 25% off a potential fight with Tyson Fury. You promote the fuck out of him. And then Fury goes in there and bulldozes him. Now you might have a guy who loses, which, again, most people might expect him to lose if it's a pure boxing match. But just sort of pointing out, let's say Francis is made to look bad, something like that. And then now you've got an older guy you can't really use like you thought you could because now he's somewhat damaged goods and he also father time has caught up with him. Like you're catching him at this moment where he's peaking, ready to make the biggest fights with the biggest money, but he may, in theory, it's possible, not be that far from the downside given the time off, given the surgery and everything else, potential motivation issues too. If he gets a whole lot of money, that could prevent you from then cashing in on whatever celebrity he could have put together by virtue of fighting Fury. Like if you're the UFC, you got to play this one real carefully about whether you go all in or not on this thing because you could die, you could fuck it up.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. I still think, regardless, even if he were to get absolutely mollywopped against Tyson Fury, there's still them being involved, the money they'd make from that. I think they can come to some sort of agreement on his UFC contract where they don't completely lose their ass.